to inform Twitter. As I have already informed Discord, I just need to let Twitter know that we are live.
I will inform my Instagram followers as well, just in case. For funsies.
We are live. Done.
I mean, if we're all doing it, then sure thing.
Yeah, we might as well. Might as well let everyone know.
Honestly, I don't think anyone who follows me doesn't follow at least one of you, so it's fine.
Yes, but
Like,
if
I'm
we
just gonna hang out.
onboard them, then they have to come. They'll be like, well, I've seen it 4 times now, so I might as well.
Yeah, it's just positive reinforcement. Keep on seeing it. They'll join in.
Exactly.
It's going to be really interesting because I gained quite a few followers after the Gothtober announcement. And I'm just like, imagine if the first content from me you see after Gothtober is. So I've been reading this middle grade about a skeleton detective.
I mean,
like, it's brand, but it's also not. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it is about a skeleton and there are scary things in it.
Like, as middle grades go, it's incredibly goth. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
But is it as goth as it could be? No.
give
Does
it
it fall
time.
into gothic fiction tropes? Yes. So,
Which is why I'm very pleased it's already on my TBR.
yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of has to be because we've still got loads to go.
Yeah.
Do you know
Well,
what's
we're
bizarre,
halfway
though?
now.
It's so bizarre to me that having finished this one, we are now halfway.
I know. It's gone too quick. And now I'm like, I want another series to do this with. I don't know.
Well, let's have another 14-book series to talk about.
I mean, I'm glad I got up.
One.
I was talking to my friend about this and she said Discworld and I went, that's 40 books, no. We'll be here
To be
forever.
fair, I'm already 6 books into Discworld because I've decided I'm doing them in there.
Wait. When you say 6 books in, do you mean you've read 1 to 6?
No, so each... Okay, I have read them in order before because my dad used to listen to them as audiobooks in the car when we go on holiday, and he would like bulk buy 4 or 5 and we would like listen to them as we like drove to France or whatever. But I've decided I want to do them in their series chunks. So I'm currently doing the Rincewind series, which means it's like book 1, 2, and 3. Then it skips to book 9. Then it's book like 13. And then it's book like 24 or whatever. But there's only like so many. So I'm doing it that way. One, because I'm collecting the really pretty hardbacks. So
Of course.
the most recent one that I read is Eric.
Oh,
And it's
that's so
all
nice.
really pretty and shiny.
That is gorgeous.
Really
And I
nice.
get them for birthday presents and Christmas presents. Because my family refuse to buy me books now. Now that I've got a bookshop, they don't want to buy me books. But I can persuade them every now and
Welcome to my world.
then to buy
Well,
pretty books. So
Yeah, my parents are
The
going, oh,
reason
what can we get you? Books? Yeah.
I
the
just
reason I got
wanna
so
read.
excited is because I've read books like chronologically published order 1 to 6 in Discworld. So you were like, I read the first 6, and I was like, do you mean, because I know about Discworld, and I was like, do you mean the first 6? Because that's what no.
And then there's me who just bounces around going, I'm going to read a bit about death, now Rincewind. And I just sort of jump about loads of
there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, because I feel
Yeah.
like the great thing about Terry Pratchett is he's obviously had all these different ideas and they're all in the same world. It doesn't matter if you don't read them in chronological order or series order, because like there's stuff in the Rincewind ones where I'm like, I feel like a large amount of time has passed, and chances are, because I've gone from book 3 to book 9, there'll be stuff within those 9 books that might be relevant to this book, but it's not relevant necessarily to his story, so it doesn't matter.
The only one
It's more like an Easter egg. If you did have them, it's like a little Easter egg that they're included rather than like a plot point.
Yeah.
The only one I'd say needs to be read in order is Tiffany Aching, because I read the first one and the fourth one and went, there's a lot of references to the previous 2 in this. So
Yeah.
probably
I
go back
think
and
the character arcs need to be pretty. Don't need to be, but it's best if you try and read like the character series
Yeah.
as they are. So the Weird Sisters and Rincewind and Death. But like other than that, you can.
Yeah.
But my partner's obsessed with them. Like with the whole series, he's got tattoos of them. So I want to read it in order because then he will be like, "Did you pick up on this reference?" And I need to read them in order.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm doing it for pretty reasons. You're doing it for genuinely nice reasons, and I think they're very different vibes. So that's fine.
And then
I
there's
I mean, also
Chaos.
you're blind forever.
That was a lot.
That was.
Abby, what did you say? Then Becca, and then Lizzie. I don't even know if you said something because I was looking at Abby.
So I said also because he'll just whine forever.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Becca, what did you say?
I said I was reading it in chaos order because chaos.
Standard. Love that for you. And Lizzie.
I said I've only read 2 Discworld books, and that's We Free Men and Carpe Jugulum, because Carpe Jugulum gave me so much joy.
I love that. I love that. I always recommend to people Hogfather.
Yes.
Because it's such a fun Christmas read without it being like, oh,
Christmassy.
Christmas Carol ripoff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think so many Christmas books really lean into let's be good people at Christmas. And whilst the Hogfather has that, it also has Terry Pratchett's sense of humour.
Yeah. It's Death dressed as the Hogfather, basically is Santa delivering presents.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
His
like
granddaughter. Like,
because I like Good Omens, so it's just like
yes!
it. So
Sorry, you just wrote Good Omens in.
Well done. You've hit one of Becca's specialist subjects.
Can I possibly bring
Anytime.
us?
Yeah.
yeah,
In a minute.
Yeah, okay.
Anytime I
What do you
share,
mean in a minute?
it's my life. Anytime I share a Good Omens gif on Gothtober, the first person to like and or retweet it is Becca every single time.
yes. And I appreciated how well the TV show adapted the text. It was better than I was expecting.
Have you heard that they're doing season 2?
I know.
They're going into start filming soon, and I'm just like, oh yay!
Yes.
I went all out with the first series. I did a whole video series on it, going, look, this is amazing. The cast is incredible. You've all got to read this, and no one paid attention. It's fine.
Is that why you're being a lot about it now?
Yes, I'm trying to make up for it. I'm just trying to convince people to read it without throwing the book at them.
It's a very different energy. Like the lower shelf is just like, yeah, it's really good, and the top shelf is like, you guys are adorable. I will just let you like.
Well, I have thrown the book at someone and gone, read it. Just do it. No excuse, read it.
No, I'll just see. I whined at my best friend until she did it. I was just like, get on with it now, and I just whined at her for a solid year. And then she finally read it, and she still hasn't watched the TV show. So I'm going to kidnap her at one point for a day. Be like, get in here.
Well, I'm glad that Gothtober prompt fits Good Omens, because my husband and best friend is now reading Good Omens, and it took Gothtober for it to happen. So I'm very happy about that.
You're so welcome, Lizzie. You are
I was
so
in the middle of a buddy read with Emma with Good Omens, and we haven't finished it yet. So I've got to message her and be like, "Do you want to restart?"
Yeah, just
or do you mind if I just read it? Because I just want to.
I just want to read it.
Do you mind if I just go for it? And we try again for series 2.
Cool. Okay. Well, as Abby pointed out, we're not actually here to talk about Good Omens or Gothtober. We're going to talk about Kingdom of the Wicked, which is book 7 in the Skullduggery Pleasant series. I did describe it as a middle grade, but it is YA territory. But I just keep seeing them as like, they're just so fun. They still have that middle grade vibe.
You can't see it. It's an 11 plus. Is on the originals. Is a 11 plus above the barcode.
Yeah. So it's not online.
Originals, Lizzie. Originals.
Hardbacks.
Hey, listen, I caught up to this read really long. I read 5 books within a week to catch up. So I'd never even heard of Skullduggery Pleasant. So this is
that
great.
in itself is horrendous.
I know, right? And I feel like I missed out because
You didn't.
You did.
Now you get to experience it first time, and that is why I've invited Lizzie to join us. Is because, like at the start, I had read the first book, but I'd never continued. So everything is a pleasant surprise to me, and obviously for you two, it is also not a pleasant surprise because you've read them before. So it's a reread. So we needed another person where it was a pleasant surprise. Ali is in the process of moving house at the moment, and she's got a newborn. So whilst she has read the book, as far as I'm aware, she can't dip in and out of the live today like she wanted to.
As someone also moving house, I mean, you're also looking to move house.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
And I have just been at my new house and I'm still at my parents' place. And neither of us have a newborn. And we can both say that that is probably the only thing that is keeping us reading right now is the lack of a newborn baby.
Yeah, the lack of a newborn baby. Let's keep that up.
Oh, my mother-in-law will be so disappointed.
Look, it's fine. If you get pregnant now, it means that the read along will have finished by the time you give birth.
Just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As in, possibly, like, maybe, like, 1
As
month.
long as you don't like have an early due date, you'll be fine.
It would literally be.
Okay, but realistically, Abby, how likely is it that you're going to get pregnant in the next 3 months?
Considering I have an IUD and no desire for children, very unlikely.
So 0%. Cool. That's what I thought.
I mean, I can't say 0, because that's just scientifically
0.1%.
inaccurate. No! Scientist. It's more than 0.
Scientist.
Science.
Mhm.
Oh, I had, right. One last detour.
Okay.
Haven't started yet.
I know.
We're 11 minutes in, but no, you crack on. What were you going to say?
After the hell of today, went and grabbed my dad some beers, and I got myself some ciders as well. The guy in the shop asked why I was still wearing a mask. So I was then like, well, we're still in a pandemic.
We are.
And right, you three will know. My dad did, of course, as a 6'3" man from the age of 13 years old, not know this look, which is the look of, oh, little girl, you think you know things.
I hate that.
And I was like, I do fucking know things, because we're in a, are you stupid? So I may have vigorously wiped these down with a lot of antiseptic. Because I was like, you clearly don't believe in COVID, so clean everything.
Look, I went food shopping earlier. No one was wearing a mask, so I was like, right, I'm coming home, having a shower, and wiping everything down. Just in case.
It's quite scary because I was looking at the stats, and the UK is one of the few countries where COVID cases are still rising, not plateauing or going down, rising. And like the caption of it was like from a Labour MP, like a shadow cabinet MP, that was like, take a guess which government has given up trying to control COVID. And that's how it feels.
Oh, yeah.
We could be in another lockdown by now. We were in a lockdown this time last year. So
It's
why
fine.
not?
It's fine. They've said that we're not having one in October, so everyone planned for the October lockdown that they said we're not having.
Well, I've now discovered the idea of Boris Johnson said this, he means the opposite. So,
Apart
and then
from
I swear at the TV.
he did Lord Farquaad us though, so it's fine. Like we should all
I've
sing.
been calling him Lord Farquaad since last year.
And now he's proven it.
Like, I saw the
Anytime you say Lord Farquaad, though, I want to go, he huffed and he puffed and he signed the eviction notice.
Oh,
But
no,
I know that's not the quote you mean, but it's like anytime someone says Lord Farquaad, that's what it means.
I wish that's what he had said.
The accent was on point.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
I know that I was the reason for the diversion, but still.
There we go.
Book.
Can we
So-
talk about anything that isn't spoilery at this point?
So, okay, with the non-spoilery stuff, I think stuff we can keep to is what rating did we give it. So, Abby, starting with you, what rating did you give this book?
I don't bloody know.
Great start.
I think 4. I haven't put it through Corpile, which is
Yeah.
how I rate. This was down as a 4 on Goodreads. I tend to give Skullduggery a 4. Even though, like, the series as a whole, I give a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, I give most of the books a 4.
Yeah,
Don't
I
know
tend
why.
to give it 5. Mm-hmm. Cool. Becca, what'd you give it?
I also gave it a 4, but it was more like a 4.5 because I enjoyed it more than I usually do on this book. Weirdly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Lizzie?
I don't know why.
I gave it a 4. It was a 5-star prediction though. It was really close to a 5. But every other book apart from the first one and the last one, so number 6, yes, number 6, I've just suddenly had a bit of a brain fart then, got 5 stars. All the other ones have got 4. So
That's cool. That's cool. I gave it 4, but I've gone the other way. For me, this is more of a 3.5 than a 4.5 to 5. And I've almost exclusively given Skullduggeries 4s and 5s because I've really, really liked them. But when we get into the spoilery bit, I will say that it is just one key element of this that is 80% of the plot for this book is one of my least favorite tropes. And that is what caused the issue.
We know.
Yeah.
We predicted it last time.
Yeah. So I know that we've talked about it before. We're going to talk about it again because I don't have much to say other than that. So that is the one thing. But I think the thing that is always great about this is like the characters and like the third dimension that you're never expecting. What I love is my brother is hopefully going to join us on the next live because he's almost caught up now. Where he's listening to it at a much slower speed to when I listen to it, keeps asking me questions that are then impacting this book. And I love that. Yes, Abby.
Will his name be Lad M?
Oh, I'd love that. But no, he will probably just come on as Kieran because I'll see how he feels. Imagine if we were Lad and Ladder M.
The first thing that came into my head was Lad M, and I was like,
Lad M, yeah. Yeah. I love that. No, because thing is though, so I've told you where Ladder M comes from, haven't I?
No.
Oh, okay. So when I was at uni, I had a blog that I would update 3 times a week that was all about uni shenanigans and playing rugby and going out and stuff like that. And just generally like my dating life and life in general. And the whole point was that I was a bit of a bloke. Like I would just hang out with the guys. I would play rugby. I would get drunk. I would burp or whatever. And I was always seen as like a ladette. That was the whole point, is I wasn't a girly girl by any stretch. So my blog was called The Ladette Monologues because I would just talk at you and be like, so I went on a date yesterday with a guy who claims to be a butcher but couldn't tell me the difference between these 2 cuts of meat. And like shit, like it would just be like funny shit. It would be like the time a guy told me that I was really beautiful but clearly broken inside when I had already downed 4 tequilas and then cried because of how drunk I was. Like, it would be like shit like that. So the Ladder M was basically a shorten of that, where my Instagram and the YouTube channel that I used to watch with was just a shortened version of Ladette Monologues. And then when I dropped my blog for teaching, I still had Ladder M on my Instagram, my Twitter, and my YouTube channel because I was using them anyway. So when I then started making content again, I was like, there's no point me setting up something with a whole new name. I'll just keep going with Ladder M. And what I love is the Americans who think it's a French name and call me Ladette. Because that I love it so much. Anytime someone talks about, like, because when Gothtober came out last year, loads of Americans picked up on it really, really quickly. And they'd be like, so I'm doing Gothtober. It's hosted by Ladette M. And I'd be like, that's so cute.
And every British person's like, yeah, it's Ladder M.
Yeah. So it's a throwback to that. And I don't think, like, I know I've talked to Keris from Keris's library, or Library of Keris, because she's changed her Twitter handle and her YouTube channel a couple of times. I have considered changing my channel name. I'm like, I don't know what I would change it to, because I don't want to do it with like Books with Hannah or anything like that. I think Ladder M is so singular. It just works really well. It's got nothing to do with my name though.
You could like mix it in and be like Ladette Hannah, or like the Bookish Ladette, or something like that. I mean, I changed mine. I originally put it as Autumn, because that was my dead nana's middle name. I was born in October and I didn't want to use my real name.
Yeah, that's fair.
And eventually, after like 3 years online, I was like, just put Abby in the bloody title. It's fine.
I couldn't think of a bookish one, so I just used the one I use for everything.
Yeah.
Like, my business name at the time was My Dreams of, well, my email and everything was like My Dreams of Writing, so I just changed it to Reading. And then I was like, 2 years ago, I was just like, nah, Book Sanctum. Change it because of my website, the Comic Book Sanctum. I was just like, let's just make everything.
I think that's the thing. It's like, I was talking to someone about this before, because where I do ghostwriting for people and social media and stuff like that, one thing we talk about a lot is how to incorporate branding. And if you're a brand new company, there is no point spending hundreds of thousands of pounds, which some companies do, on creating a logo and a brand, because until you know who your ideal client is and who you are as a company, you're not going to know what your brand is. I now know that my brand is erring on the side of gothic. It's generally the spookier, darker side of literature, that I've got the writer behind me as well, and I will talk about something in a far more critical way to most average readers, and that it is a lot more discussion based. A lot of the content I make is because I like that part of the conversation. So I will make recommendations and tag videos and things like that. I love collabing. I love doing the lives because that works for me. That's not a monologue. None of those things fall under a monologue. And none of them really fall under a laddie behaviour either. Because I'm not talking about rugby. I'm not talking about drinking. I'm not talking about any of those kinds of shenanigans. They're not laddish. So the Ladette M part is just because it's recognisable now. It's just because there isn't another content creator that has that name or anything similar. There is, however, a porn account on Twitter that is also Ladette. If you take out the underscore, suddenly, very different vibe. But on YouTube and Insta, nothing.
Is that the French version then? The Ladette?
Ladette.
Ladette in.
Yeah.
Oh la la.
Ooh la la. Yeah. So anyway, right, that's all we've got to say on the non-spoiler stuff. So now we're on to the spoiler discussion. Do you want to do what we did last time, which is basically just work our way through characters and our thoughts on them? Or do you have very, very key points you wish to discuss?
I want your opinion on Katana.
Yes,
Okay. Now,
that's what I've been waiting for.
yeah, fair enough. Last live, you said you're going to hate her. And I think, you know what? You were right. I did hate her. You're supposed to hate her. I appreciate that. But I hated her far and away beyond just she's a bratty teenager that like tries to outsmart them and doesn't. I did think it was interesting when she thinks she's won because she's outsmarted them and she's like beating up that guy. That was interesting to me. But the thing that I felt like of all the characters that are in these books, she was the most stereotypical and tropey, and I just didn't like her for those reasons as well. So it wasn't just that I disliked her because she's a pain in the ass, which she absolutely is. She is a bully. She is like pushing people. But on top of that, what makes it even worse for me is the fact that she is just, you kind of knew what she was going to do before she did it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I knew she was going to betray them. Even though she's like pushed them for these things, like pushed them for this info, she's going to betray them. Like, that was really obvious. So when that surprises Skullduggery and Valkyrie, that wound me up because I was like, well, no, they're smarter than that. Surely they would know that's what she was going to do. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always thought she was a stereotype as well. That's why she annoys me, because I was just like, you've written better villains than this, mate.
yeah.
Like, Argedian as a character is great. If he'd removed the teenagers and done something else, that would have been fine.
Moment of silence for Hannah dying.
Yeah. Right,
Breathe.
just went up my nose. It caused me to have a coughing fit. So sorry, Becca, you were saying. I'm crying.
I was saying, like, Argedian, if, like, he'd done it so instead, like, he'd given powers to, say, a serial killer or something like this, I think that would have been more interesting. But because Katana's such a stereotype, it didn't work as well, because you just found her annoying.
Or even the trio without Katana.
Yes.
Because although all four of them were stereotypes, I feel like without Katana it would have been a different dynamic. You would still get the general dynamic of, I can't remember his name, but the annoying lad that's just there because he finds Katana hot. I mean, so does Sean. But Dorian would be kind of in Katana's position, but would also have the I don't care enough to be like manipulative and planning in a way that is supposed to be clever. Then you've got Sean that's just trying to be cool, and Ellie?
Elsie.
Earlier. Who just fancies one of them, and that's it. And then eventually, like, her morals are like, stop it. I think that could have worked a lot better, even though it's a really similar dynamic. I think just without the immediately so much better.
Yeah. Are you three familiar with the Zimbardo experiment, the prisoner and
Yeah.
officer experiment?
Yes. Done psychology. Very aware.
Yeah.
Lizzie.
So, Lizzie, then, for your basic understanding, a really unethical study was done where a lecturer, a psychology lecturer, basically got 12 students to play 6 prisoners, 6 officers, and basically locked them in a building. And the prisoners would have a strict set of rules. They had to follow whatever the officers said. The officers had slightly slack rules where they could basically run this prison for a week however they wanted. But essentially it was to see what would happen when authority was given to people of the same age, and to just kind of see basically like what would happen when we put these people in this like fractious situation. The prisoners were abducted from their homes, so they were properly arrested and taken. They had all their stuff taken off them. They were given uniforms. The officers were given uniforms and were instructed to arrest these kids before taking them. So there was already like, there's a lot of really unethical shit, because one of the first things whenever you're doing a psychology thing is you have to inform the people you're doing the psychological test on that you are doing a psychological test, right?
I'd heard that the students were aware that they were going to be, as in they were like, yep, you can come in whenever in kind of this approximate bracket and come and arrest me. I know that that's going to happen, and I know it's going to be like an actual arrest. Like I thought that they
no, they didn't know. They didn't know that. No, this is what I'm saying is like they did know that. They did sign up to that, but it was the fact that they weren't given a heads up. Like, so like you said, like they were told, right, from these hours I'll be at uni, and basically within their uni study hours is when they would be arrested, but they didn't know when or where those arrests were going to happen. In the same way that if you were an actual convict, you wouldn't know when you were going to get arrested, because they don't give you a telephone call to say that's going to happen. So there was already like this contentious thing. There was one guy who was an officer who had watched a film the night before. And basically in their statements afterwards, he said that he'd watched this film and he wanted to recreate this film. And the film was about police brutality. So he wanted to see how far his fellow students would go taking this bullshit. And basically he went in and made himself the leader. And the first thing he did was all the beds and furniture that the prisoners were given was taken out of their room. So they were basically in a room with nothing. He made it very, very strict when they could and couldn't go to the bathroom. He encouraged officers to lock them in cupboards. They were like really aggressive with the way they would like handcuff them and like move them around. They would put bags over their heads. Like they weren't allowed to physically assault them, but they emotionally traumatized them and mentally disturbed them. They wouldn't let them sleep for like a week. And it went on for like 2 weeks, this thing. And Zimbardo was just like hanging out in the back, like watching, like did nothing to interrupt it because he didn't want to interrupt his experiment. But it's the idea for me that is a case of if one person gets it in their head to do horrible things, it's really fucking easy in a uniform to get other people to do the same thing. So Katana being that character for me was a really on the nose portrayal of that, which I appreciate. This is for kids, but it kind of felt like that for me. Do you know what I mean? Yes, Abby. You don't have to put your hand up, Abby.
No, I know, but it works. I just like want to point out, because I said this, I think it might have been before we went live, but scientist. There's lots of problems with the study. It doesn't actually conclude what Hannah said it concluded. That's the conclusion they came to. It doesn't actually conclude any of that. It doesn't conclude anything. It was a very biased study, all white college-age men in the 80s, so obviously a very specific demographic. And obviously they went in with a subject who was a complete outlier and who went in to ruin the test from the start. Therefore, all of the test results are invalid. So, from a sciencey point of view,
it wasn't that I didn't know any of those things. I just didn't think they were relevant in my comparison. That was
no, I know. I just felt like they had to be mentioned. I'm really sorry.
Why are you apologizing?
Because I'm being annoying.
No.
What, by explaining it? I think that's all valid stuff. It was just one of those things where, like, because it's one of those things, like, so it's something that I've discussed before. There's always an issue with anything like historical fiction, for example. There's always going to be an audience member who knows more about what you've written than you do, right? So, like, my basic knowledge of A-level psychology that I got a D in is there, right? So I know the experiment happened. I know that none of the research was valid. And that, like,
the only reason I was clarifying is in case someone was like, "Oh, I heard this," and I was like, "No, look more into it." That was all I was doing. Like, your points are 100% valid.
If someone's basing their psychology degree on what's coming out of my mouth, you've got bigger problems.
Hannah, it's the internet.
I know, but it's fine. They didn't come here for psychology.
QI.
Here for
Also, I did just spend the day with my partner who has an undergrad and a postgrad within psychology.
Oh, I see. So you're like,
it's rubbed off.
So I'm just like,
no, but like I think what you're saying is correct. I don't think what you're saying is correct. I think it's relevant to a point. In this comparison, what I mean is having that outlier was a really obvious choice. If I could suggest an edit, it would be that Katana is similar to Argedian. So in the idea that they are an extreme pacifist, where they think by not being violent, they're not doing any harm. So like, say, like an extreme hippie that then uses her power to control people or manipulate people or force them into a certain lifestyle. Like, if it was to be written now, for example, I could so see
make them go vegan.
Yeah, like an eco-warrior, Greenpeace, violent type that isn't violent, is still passive. But
it's my choice to eat chicken
Yeah.
and to eat beef and to wear leather, XYZ.
Yeah.
But she's forcing them, and then obviously there could then be like consequences for that because there's different things that are like wrong with that. Yeah.
And because Argedian's experiment essentially was to be like, okay, well, if I gave normal people power, what would happen? And it's like, okay, well, we've seen this movie before. We know that if you give someone power, the first thing they do is either use it to defend people that can't, or use it to get retribution when they weren't able to defend themselves.
With great power comes
great responsibility.
Okay. Lizzie, what did you think of Katana?
One, it took me a minute to realize who you were talking about, because I found in general with Skullduggery Pleasant there are so many fucking names.
Mm-hmm.
So many. So in my head I was like, right, which one's Katana? I know she's one of the teenagers, but is she the one you're supposed to
get wrong all the time?
Yeah.
Constantly.
I liked her, but I saw, like, if I got loads of power, I'd 100% do what she did, just as a heads up.
Yeah.
Because
don't give Lizzie power. Noted. Carry on.
Yeah, don't give me power, because I would abuse it immediately and be like, "Lol, look at me, I'm better than you," just because. So I didn't necessarily like her, but I did find her interesting with the fact that it was so played into the stereotype. I was like, that's a way of doing something that, you know, we've all seen it before, but I liked how far she pushed it. Because it was like, there's a line, and she just was like, well, fuck the line.
I guess also it kind of provided a level of consistency in the story. So even if you are someone from a middle grade age reading it, because this is kind of at the very end of where it could really be, like these last few books are the last like middle grade books. And so even if you, like, we were reading it going, oh yeah, that's just that trope. You might not do that as a younger reader, but you'll have that consistency, so you'll know that that's happening. So then in your head, it could be used instead. It's like a clever way of being like, okay, you know what's happening. You know, like, she's going to get the best of them, and then she's going to think she's won, and then, oh no, she hasn't. The good guys have won. But that kind of then allows there to be more done in the background with kind of Argedian's like thought process and why he was doing it. Like, again, like, you've got that stereotype of Katana, so you then, are you messaging?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, what does she do? So you've got the stereotype of Katana. So you then expect like Argedian to go like again with the stereotype of like, oh no, she's hurting people. This is not what I wanted. And so then it kind of the fact that she's so much of a stereotype then kind of makes Argedian being like, no, this is fine. It's kind of like, what? It kind of like highlights it a bit more in that like he's going with the stereotype. So you're fully just sat there like, oh yeah, Argedian's going to be like, no, this is bad. And he's like, nah, this is fine. This is great. Exactly what I wanted. And that kind of makes that kind of hit a bit harder than it would have if she hadn't been quite so stereotypical. Because especially, again, if you're a younger reader, who it's aimed at, they're not going to realize that the trope. And so in their head, they're just going to be like, okay, so this is going to happen. Wait, what? And so...
Sorry, what are they going to be like? Just clarify what they're going to be like.
Oh, okay, that's fine then. This is just what's going to happen.
I've never met a single child that acts like that. Just so we're clear, I've never met a single child that's like, okay.
They're on Disney Channel if they do.
Disney Channel,
Yeah.
to be
Okay, fair enough.
but so like I completely agree with you in that like she is a stereotype. I think there could have been so many better ways to do it.
Yeah.
But I also do kind of, I know I'm being devil's advocate, but I kind of like the way that he's used it to kind of twist and play with your perceptions of like the stereotypical, and then to take that and go, okay, great, that's stereotypical. Here's a twist.
Yeah,
So
that's fair enough. Well, Derek Landy's very good at doing that, and I think that's probably the thing. Is like I knew at some point the dam was going to break with skullduggery for me because I'm not good at committing to series long term, right? Like most of the series that I love are trilogies.
You picked this.
Yes, and I will tell you for why. It's because I know that there are series that are super long that I have really enjoyed. I enjoyed Cassandra Clare to a point. I enjoyed the Magic Study series that we're reading, which is like 7 books. I know there's more than that. So I know I have the capacity for enjoying a longer series. And because it's a middle grade to YA, it's a very easy read. But I knew that there was still, regardless of how well it was written, there was going to be a point where I would lose momentum with it. And this is the book that has me going, if I weren't reading this for a read along, I'd probably stop here, give it a couple of months before moving on to the next one. Now, that's not going to happen. I'm going to read the next one, and I am excited for the next one. It won't make me like the next one any less, but I just think there's an emotional exhaustion that I get with a series, and I think this book suffered there. Like, I feel like I was a lot more hypercritical reading this than I have been with previous ones, because like Derek Landy is very, very good at taking those tropes and going, here's a really sneaky subversion. It's not so much so that it's a complete reinvention of the wheel. It's just enough to poke fun. And I feel like Katana had the capacity to be poked fun of. And that didn't
quite hit.
She was the really serious villain. And I don't trust a teenager to be a really serious villain.
I mean, I will say, like, you're saying, like, obviously because it's been all in one go and the momentum and the dip, but me and Becca, who've read this series before a few times, I mean, up to this point, this is where we start to have only read them once each. We also, like we said before at the end of last month's live stream, like, again, this is one where we dipped anyway. So I think this...
The weakest book in the series.
Yeah. It's a weak point in the series anyway. We enjoyed it more on reread. Me and Becca both said that we liked it more on the reread. So maybe one day in the future, if you ever do reread through the series, you might get more from it the second time through. Yeah. But like both of us, when we read it the first time through, had the exact same reaction as you, which is just like, this is not as good as the others.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting though is I liked the payoff that you got from certain things in this book. That's why I enjoyed it a lot. Like I haven't had a dip with the series yet, which is a bit scary, but I enjoyed the payoff and the things that I'd been waiting to happen happening in this book.
Can I remind you that banner at the bottom says spoiler? So
yeah, you can be specific.
Okay, so I've been waiting for the reflection to do something this entire time. Every time I've spoken to Hannah, I'm like, okay, when is the reflection gonna, do something that is going to make everyone go, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
And it happened.
But
And
every time she's questioned that, me and Becca are like,
Yeah.
It's so funny because I knew something had to happen because I'd be like, and that reflection's creepy. And you just watch Becca and Abby just go, mm-hmm. What a lovely piece of wall I have here. Like, it was that kind of like, but like, no, you're absolutely right. And I'm so excited to fucking talk about the reflection. So you keep going and then I have things to say.
Well, no, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the way it happened. I enjoyed the build up for it because I was sitting there going, okay, something's got to happen with it, right? And obviously, last book there was all the revelations of Lord Vile, which threw me through a loop when I actually read that bit. I was like, oh my god, what the heck? And like in this one now, kind of how Skullduggery beats Lord Vile himself with bringing back Valkyrie. And then the mirror reflection being like, bye. Like, and getting stuck over in like the other place, which I don't know if I had a name. I listened to half of this in audio and then read the rest of it in like a day.
Yeah,
so
it was just the alternate universe, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
yeah, it's
wasn't
a
really
different dimension. I think the city has a name, but it's the same place. Like, it's still Ireland, just in a different dimension. So.
like an alternative Dublin, isn't it, or something? I don't know.
Mm.
Anyway, whatever it was, and getting stuck over there and being tortured. I really liked seeing return characters as well. I think I was most excited when Tanith appeared. I'm a big Tanith stan, and I've been missing her, so I'm really glad.
Agreed.
Read Maleficent 7, she's the main
That's
character.
her narrative. Yeah, that's her whole book.
Yeah.
I know. I just don't know the Maleficent 7. I will though.
It's on script. It's on script.
Oh. Okay.
You're welcome. Look how excited I am. But no, I think you're right. And I think the heartbreaking thing about the reflection for me, and it did break my heart, was the fact that for the last few books, she's been creepy, right? She's been mildly sinister, like encroaching on Valkyrie's life and like sharing Valkyrie's stuff with her, calling their parents our parents rather than just your mom and dad or whatever, because like she was an entity without parents kind of thing. Like there was all this like low level stuff. And then they started working together. And like the whole beginning of this book, there are key moments when Valkyrie's like, can you just give me half an hour so that I can like shower and sort myself out and then I'll put you back. Like if you were just going to finish the homework, like finish that, or I'm not going to be staying long. So we'll jump in so you can share your memories with me. But then you'll need to like be out because I'm going out. And she hadn't like there was a bit I think where like Valkyrie said she hadn't seen her parents properly in like 2 weeks. And it's like the reflection has been living your life for 2 weeks. And it's this thing where they're working simpatico for the first time. Valkyrie isn't getting arsey every time the reflection says something like our parents or my sister or whatever. And there's like this really excellent work ethic together to the point that when they get thrown to the other dimension, they're holding hands, and that's why the reflection is there. It's because they were still touching through the mirror. And like that, like it was this really nice, but I was like, okay, well maybe she's not going to do something sinister. Maybe it's a case of something horrible is going to happen to her, and I'm going to feel bad. This reflection that's working with them gets got. And then, right at the fucking end, she stabs her cousin. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, what? Just to put the reflection in, that is essentially a mindless drone. Like, what the fuck? And it was that moment, like, I've been lured into a false... After feeling like this is super, super sinister, you've lured me into a false sense of security. I feel comfortable now. Oh, you've broken my heart. Cool.
But then, like, the reflection did get tortured and didn't turn off their pain sensor for some unknown reason. They were just like, yeah, it hurts. Like, why? If you have the capacity to not feel anything, why did you not use that?
Well, not only that, but to not turn off your pain sensor so that you feel it, which is the most human thing you can do, but also the empathy needed to go, don't worry, I won't let you remember those things. Like, I'll keep those memories for myself. Like, the empathy required to do that from a creature that should be barely what this is going to take from Valkyrie if she feels those things, because she's experienced them now. But equally, I do understand that that's the second time she's been absolutely brutalized because of Valkyrie.
It's no wonder she holds a grudge.
Right? So I do understand, like, and I think that is what, again, Derek Landy is very good at doing, is making you empathize with villains. And I think if it had been her narrative, if that had happened like at the start and like halfway through, because Derek Landy also is notorious for like just changing who the bad guy is like halfway through. If she had killed the cousin halfway through the book would have been a 5 stars for me, because it then would have followed that storyline. But it didn't. It follows Katana and fucking Lord What's-His-Face from the other dimension, and I just didn't care.
I bet you're excited for the next book, though.
Yes.
But for me, it's like the reflection. What I love as well with that is that he made you care about the cousin in that book, and then went, "Oh no, I'm going to kill her now." Like, you're going to care about her. No, you're not allowed to have her.
I know.
Yeah, like this is why you
He
kind of
had kind of started that a little bit in the book before, like, because obviously, when the only reason I remember that is Fergus having magic.
Yeah.
So they have kind of like, he's been building that up of like, they're not so annoying. Like, you see the very childish, like, oh, they're annoying, and then like, oh no, they're just people, and then getting on, and he's built it up like slowly over the books to then just be like, oh yeah, okay, she's dead.
Yeah.
Do that what you will.
I mean, that's the one.
Also, all of you, including Becca, I think, as far as I'm aware, you guys had the next book ready and waiting for whenever the fuck you wanted.
Yes.
I read this the day it was released.
Oof.
rip you.
I stomped downstairs very angrily and was like, finish the book. And then had to wait for another year. Thank God it only takes him a year. Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah, at least he's not George R. Martin, otherwise we'd still be waiting.
If he were George R. Martin, we would not be doing this read along. If it wasn't the case of it's the last book of the series, we would not be doing this. Or I would not be doing this read along.
Me and Abby would probably be sitting there going, please more. We need a hit.
We need a hit.
It's like a drug.
You were going to say something.
I was going to say, it's actually one of the reasons I gave this book 4 stars. It's because Valkyrie is starting to grate on me with her way of thinking. And you saying about how, like, you watch the cousin kind of just turn into a person. I'm like, oh yeah, look at all this character development from everyone apart from Valkyrie.
Yeah.
Who I'm starting to be like, you're stagnant. Please, I love that Abby has completely decided to hide the expression. But I'm just starting to be like, please, Valkyrie. Like, at least as Darkest, you're a little interesting. As Valkyrie, I'm like, please have some development as a character. Everything else about it, I'm really enjoying, but Valkyrie is starting to.
I think
you're hiding your face. You don't even know half of it.
No, but I know what happens in the next 2, so.
It's really hard because I want to ask. I want to be like, tell me, but I appreciate you
want to say.
Yeah,
it's really funny because, like, Becca, I've never known anyone be so strong with regards to spoilers. Because if Kieran asks me a direct question, I will answer it. Like, he was like, oh, what happens with Valkyrie's cousin and the reflection? And I was like, straight up, one shanks the other. Like, I just couldn't, I wasn't going to wait. He asked me a direct question. But I'll be like, hey, Becca, does something sinister happen with the reflection? And she'll just be like, I guess you'll have to find out. That was 7 books ago I asked that.
I like
literally the first live stream. I was like, well, I don't trust that reflection. And Becca was like, I don't know why we were doing.
And then in the next live stream, you mentioned, so the one that I was the first on, that for the second book, and you were like, yeah, I still don't trust that reflection. And Becca was like, I'm still not saying anything. I was like, I'm saying nothing.
And I was like, I know something's going on.
I like watching people squirm with these things.
Yeah, all right.
I like watching people guess. It's fun.
I want to know what you guys think about little baby Alice.
Lizzie, you can go first.
Yeah, now you're assuming I remember these names. You've shoved a name at me again.
Val's little sister. The
Um,
baby.
Yes, the baby. I hope she turns
Baby.
evil. Essentially, I hope she turns evil. I just want everyone to be evil because I find evil characters generally more interesting. I like the hero journey, but I'm a villains person.
Same.
Hence why when Tanith turned into a revenant, I got real excited, and then we saw nothing from her, and that upset me a lot. So watching her being villainous and just chopping people up was great. But
Magnificent Seven, that's fun. A lot of fun.
But otherwise, I don't remember anything I'm supposed to because, again, I read this a long time ago to make sure I had read it.
Yeah, same. I don't care about babies.
See, I don't care about babies, but there are two specific babies in real life I like. One of them I'm related to, the other one is next door, and he's just a chunk, essentially. And I'm just, he's nice, you know? And like my family member one as well is just, we call him the miracle, magical baby, because he makes even grumpy people like me love him. So
Fair
now
enough.
I get Valkyrie being like, yes, this one is perfect. Like, I get it. It's like, kids, sort of, that one I like.
Nah, not a fan. Not a fan of babies. Babies, they smell weird.
Yeah.
And they scream a lot.
But I do think, because the reflection is obviously being a lot involved with the baby, way more than Valkyrie actually is. Like, and Valkyrie used to get annoyed because her reflection would hold the baby. Like, get over yourself. If you're not there, like, what do you expect the reflection to do? And because the reflection's there, I'm like, this is a villain origin story waiting to happen.
Yeah.
I do, like, now you've made me go, I want the baby to be evil. So, what? I want to see the final book.
Like, with the reflection creating other reflections, which I think is really interesting because she had to get Carol to do it because she couldn't do the magic because as a reflection, I love that. It'll be really interesting
Something Abby.
to make the baby a reflection. Would the reflection grow up with the same sentience as a baby?
With how Stephanie has developed into being Stephanie, possibly if they shoot it.
I love that. Let's posit that as a scenario where we shoot a baby to make it smart. Interesting.
What kind of Zombieland type idea is this?
I don't know. If I'm here for it.
One from Derek Landy. I think he would fit in very well.
Well, now I'm like, well, okay, so she's already shanked her cousin, right? What's going to stop this this reflection from going around and just replacing everyone with
like the whole family?
The entire
whole family.
Yeah, and then Valkyrie's like,
we haven't been given the reason that she's done it yet. Like, she's not actually said why. Like, what was the point in killing her?
She does say something about because they deserve to exist.
Well, she was like, and
she could have then picked any. Like, she didn't have to pick someone from her family. She didn't have to pick someone in that. Like, there's lots of different scenarios that she could have used. She could have picked people from an airport who were going to fly away to Zimbabwe and never come back to Ireland, and have a reflection of them who could then be like her and try to become sentient. And instead she's picked someone who is genetically related to her origin creation.
The thing is, as well, is that will these reflections age? Or will they stay exactly the same? Because now that the cousin's dead, they'll now notice.
It must age, because I've never thought about that before, but the reflection must continually update as you put it back in the mirror, because they've noticed Val's parents, being they, have noticed her getting stronger and haven't noticed weird fluctuations in her suddenly being skinny and not skinny.
Well,
so
I'm talking
it
about
definitely at least updates when she's in the mirror, but whether it updates out of the mirror.
It's Carol's cousin is what I'm saying. Like, I'm talking about the cousin, because now she doesn't have a cousin to update from. So,
Yeah.
Although the twin, she's a twin.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
the whole
but
point is they were fraternal twins. They aren't identical twins.
I
Because
know.
they-
I know. I'm just spitballing here. Like she
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
she might update in knowing that it was a twin. So the reflection might not realize that you have to age, and that could be the catalyst, I guess, where everyone goes, "What?" Because you're a twin, and now suddenly one twin's looks a year younger than the other one does. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting. Like, but I was just reading that last page where she has her monologue about who Carol was versus what they are now. So it's like the dead person at your feet was a stupid girl. She was a stupid, ignorant, selfish girl. This means you are a stupid, ignorant, selfish thing, but you can change, you can improve. And then, do you understand the gift that I'm giving you? In a few years, you will. You'll turn into something better. Look at me. I was like you once. Everything about me was false, but I'm not like that anymore. When Stephanie abandoned her name, I picked it up like a coin. I am not an empty shell. You don't have to be either. And I think, and she's like, this scepter bonds to people, not to things. I am not a thing. I am not an it. I'm a person. I am a her. And I think it's that's what she wants. If she wants her own identity outside of Valkyrie. And she knows that she can't do that on her own because Valkyrie can just put her back in the mirror whenever. But if she puts together her own fraternity, then it will make it easier for her to have that independence and that identity.
Oh, honestly, when she picked up the scepter, I full on gasped. I was like, "Oh my god!"
But I thought it was also really clever that the way he got this scepter back was to do this idea of having an alternate universe and bringing it back in that way. And like, I really like how he did that. And like, just the entire alternate universe, to be honest.
I liked how Argedian was different.
Yeah.
In both universes. I liked how Argedian was so cocksure and confident. Sorry, my door's being opened. Hello, Kevin. Can you give me 5 minutes? I'll eat it in here if that's all right. Oh, yes, please. Thank you. Why is he being nice? Thanks, Kev. That's my dad.
You really call your dad by his first name?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Kev, Kevin, Dad.
That is my
Ned.
uncle's name, Kevin. So it was very strange to me when you were like, "Oh, hey, Kev." I was like, "I'm sorry, what?"
No, it's just Nick Brown. Right, where was I? So Argedian was so like cocksure and confident that this was just going to be him. It was an alternate universe, just going to be him. Another dimension, exactly the same. And he's not. He's just like, what did you know?
Yeah.
So I liked the way that he played with that. Why didn't you like the dimension?
I don't like timey-wimey storylines. And the idea of it being an alternate timeline where these things have happened but haven't happened, I do not enjoy. I just don't like him. I don't know if it's the sci-fi element of it or if it's just like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy Doctor Who, right? Where they will jump in and out of different timelines. The idea that you're not supposed to like, okay, yeah. As I just said, I don't mind it in Doctor Who because that's literally the whole fucking point, is that you jump in and out of different timelines, dimensions, etc. I get that. I just think when I'm watching a TV series and there's always that one, like if it's a long TV series, so say it's like Criminal Minds or Bones, where there's like 100 or so episodes, they will always have that one episode where they're like, an alternate storyline could be, and it's like, what if these people had met at a different time or whatever? Those episodes always feel really hollow to me because I'm like, there are no stakes, because unless like in this instance where they've brought something from a previous timeline or an alternate dimension to that to then mess up with their own storyline, 9 times out of 10 they will try and keep it so that it doesn't impact the main storyline, or it's just here's what you could have won type narrative, and I just don't care for them. It's just that straightforward.
But I really liked it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I really appreciated the kind of Doctor Who nature of it, where it was okay. Lord Vile is running, running rampant around this world. You've got Serpine, which I was like, I think it's Serpine that comes back. I could be wrong, yeah. And that made me so happy because I was like, wow, okay, good. I don't know. It was just really cool seeing how these things happened and how quickly it ran out of control. So all of Argideon's plans, like you looked at it and how the power dynamics already would be once people knew that magic existed. I just really enjoyed the play of this is how bad it can be. And I just really enjoyed it. And I like that China was like full on, like China
Queen.
going like true colors, like more than she does in the normal world, and like when Skullduggery goes back and China's like, Skullduggery, where have you been? It's like, yeah, in the metal suit, you know.
But the thing is, as well, is what changed for Skullduggery to stay as Lord Vile?
Yeah.
What, like, he.
Kev brought me lemon meringue pie. Continue.
Continue.
It was like you were just handed it by a butler.
I really want lemon meringue pie now. I had a lemon tart
ice cream.
yesterday, and I want another one.
There's ice cream as well, just to make it worse.
Excellent. As you were saying, Lizzie.
No, Becca
Sorry.
was saying.
Yeah.
Oh, Becca,
I was
sorry.
saying, like, how Skullduggery snapped out of being Lord Vile. I really enjoyed seeing what happened when he hasn't snapped out of it and he's just continued on this path of evil.
Mm.
And that was the bit that changed, because obviously didn't he defeat Malevolent as Skullduggery? Or am I making that up?
He came back to being Skullduggery, and then they all won. Whereas in this alternative reality, he never returned from Lord Vile.
Yeah. So it was just interesting to see the fact that him deciding to stay evil meant that all of this happened, because it wasn't just the fact that Malevolent won, it was the fact that Skullduggery wasn't there, and probably because he killed everybody else who helped defeat Malevolent in the first place.
I think also I really appreciated Dark S and Lord Vile versus Argideon.
Yes.
That was probably one of my favorite boss battles of all time.
Oh yeah. Seeing them at full power, absolutely going for it, is what I've been wanting since since the Lord Vile twist came the first time around. I read it. I was like, I just want to see them go up against each other and against other evil people.
And it was also the darkest, in a voice of that guy's powerful, like talking about Lord Vile, like, and keeping him around because he's clearly useful. I found that so amusing. I was like, that little like inner dialogue was fantastic.
I just love Dark S's thought process, because it's not like she's strictly evil. It's more the fact that she's just likes destroying things, and it's that idea.
She just doesn't care.
Yeah, there's no
other
empathy
than about herself.
So it's just the destruction. Yeah,
like when she's fighting with the kids, like, I feel mean calling them kids. Like, they are, but they're also like 16. But when she's fighting with the kids, like, she tells them, "Ha ha ha! You haven't even figured out that you can heal yourself." Because she genuinely just
thinking it. It's like it's the thought process. I think that's the thing. Is like she doesn't actually, as Darkest, she has almost no dialogue. It's all internalized. So it's just for us. And that must be like really fucking sinister if you're like up against this person who has nothing on their face and says nothing. And what they're thinking is, oh, you should have aimed for the head. Like, that's really fucking dark. And I think like Darkest is probably a very apt name. What is interesting to me is the fact that she, as Darkest, is very pragmatic. And because she's pragmatic, it means that when Valkyrie is Valkyrie, she understands the usefulness of Darkest. And she feels really lost when Argideon takes that away from her.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got a massive bit of pie in my mouth.
Oh, I saw.
Yeah.
You literally didn't even get your mouth the whole way round it, did you? You did your best. You did your best.
When
Now it's your turn to cry.
When
This is what I get for taking giant spoonfuls of pie.
I mean, when Valkyrie got her head cut off and it was just Darkess going, now I have this many seconds to think of how to get myself out of this. Cool, you can still think.
Yeah.
Oof,
Yeah,
that's
I
it.
love that she's always problem solving.
Yeah,
Like
she's
in the most like situations where you're supposed to panic, and she's always like, "Okay, step by step." This.
You know, calm about all of it. I think that's the scariest thing about her is that no matter what happens, she's completely and utterly calm.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for Valkyrie to just embrace that now, though. Like, I am like, yes, please, can we have more Darkess?
It's going to be interesting to me because obviously in the prophecy from like book 1, 2, and 3, you have.
What?
That was a massive bit of pie, and you were just like, no one's watching.
You know what, Becca? She's having a great time. Just leave her be. It's fine.
I didn't drop a single piece of pie back in the bowl. Don't insult me.
That was the same as me this week eating carrot cake. You're fine. Just like,
I managed to eat like an adult human being. Leave me alone. Carry on, Hannah.
You ate an entire adult human being?
Obviously.
I can't remember what I was saying now. Oh yeah, so in the prophecy, there is a bit where Valkyrie looks back at Darkess. Now, I had the theory that Valkyrie looking back is the reflection. But if the reflection can tap into whatever it is that the scepter is controlled by, can she also tap into Darkess?
I like that theory, and you said it, I'm going, okay, that makes sense. But I don't think the reflection will ever be able to do magic, in my opinion. I don't think
by using the scepter, she's used magic.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's another reason for that.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if it's something to do with it recognizes Valkyrie's touch, but not her power.
Right.
Bantu could use the scepter.
Right.
He's human.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I guess the thing is though, if Argedian has put power into people, did that go down your top?
No.
Okay, good.
I'm just getting flashbacks to Miranda now.
There does seem to be a capacity for non-magically born people to use magic, even if they aren't necessarily inherently gifted with magic. And my thought is, if Darkess is part of Valkyrie's subconscious, is there an innate power there that can be used, even if it's just by a human? Do you know what I mean? Like, Katana, their power grew from what they started with. Their ability to use their power grew from what they started with. So is there a possibility of, even if you have like a granule of magic or magic capability, that couldn't grow?
But then the argument there is she was made of magic and she's not born? ? But like, I don't know. In my head, I'm like, he is just a reflection of what Valkyrie should have been, right? As Stephanie, that was her whole purpose, to emulate Stephanie's life. I don't know. I don't know. I think the scepter
but then
is
maybe it's the reflection that is the one saying, "Oh, I don't want to see this anymore," and then Valkyrie as Darkess is the one destroying stuff behind them.
Yeah.
The parents she's destroying are the parents' reflections and not her real parents.
This army of reflections that are gonna pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a solid theory.
It won't be what happens because Becca and Abby are really poker facing, but
yeah, they are. Very much.
It was purely because I was scraping the bowl for the ice cream.
So I saw that. You really I was surprised you didn't just start licking the bowl.
I'm on camera. Later.
Like that would stop you.
I just go for it. Who cares? Food.
Who knew?
I have many thoughts. I've got many thoughts about what you and Lizzie have been saying, but a lot of them link in or are fully into the later books in the series. Some of them don't happen at all. Some of them you've like tripped upon a plot point. Some of them you're thinking further than what's actually happened in the book so far, and you're actually thinking about the last book. And some of them you have just stated what happens later.
Interesting. Love that.
Now you get to go back and make a list and be like, oh,
Yeah. I'm
just
going to rewatch this later. I'm going to make a list of all my predictions and I'm going to tick them off as and when they happen.
Wait, please actually do that. That would be so good.
No, I did that. I genuinely did that for Game of Thrones and was really proud of myself when like 6 of my 10 predictions came true.
I'd be proud of myself.
I did that with Westworld. I got one of the plot twists of series 3 and was like, yes! And I bragged about it for about a week.
I love guessing it. And like, I know some people hate it because they don't like spoilers and plot twists and shit like that. I am always so proud of myself when I guess how a book is going to end.
Yeah.
As long as it's not like like the stereotype for this thriller or the stereotype for this, like, as long as it's not just like, oh, well, this is what everyone has written in the past. Yeah. As long as it isn't that, love it. If I'm guessing because it's badly written, no. But like, if I'm guessing and it's well written, I'm like,
yeah.
See, I just like theorizing in general.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I love the MCU is because I get to speak to a load of people about novel theories. So any theories in books, I love, even though I avoid spoilers like the plague. I don't think theorizing is spoilers because you are literally having a conversation with someone about what you think might happen. Because you don't know. I mean, you guys obviously do, but Hannah, you don't know when we're talking about this.
The issue with these, because you guys are theorizing and me and Becca sat there like...
It's like every time Lord Vile was mentioned in the previous books and you lot were talking about it and me and Abby were just like, don't say anything.
Don't say. Well, like, the amount of things, like there's certain points where yous have been like, oh, and this would change this, and this would change my opinion on this, and I'm like, I just wanted to tell you.
Do you know what's really funny? Kieran guessed that Skullduggery Pleasant was Lord Vile.
What?
Yeah. He was like, we were talking about it the other day, and he was like, can I ask you something and you'll tell me? And I was like, yeah, because you know me, I can't keep a secret. And he was like, are Lord Vile and Skullduggery in it together? And I was like, what do you mean in it together? And then he went, are they the same person? And I was like, yes, they are.
How in the hell did he guess that?
Book 5. He's not even read book 6 where it's revealed.
How though? What did I miss?
He's so clever. He's so clever. He just acts like an idiot.
Just
I can say that. He's my brother. It's fine.
But, oh my god.
Right? To be fair, this is how much he paid attention, though, because he had to tell us that the narrator changes.
Oh my god. When I was told the narrator changes on in the books, it changes twice. Not once, twice. Here I am thinking it was the same Irish man doing the accent. Nope. 3 different people.
You panicked me just for a second there where I was like, the fuck do you mean the narrator? I've never listened to the audiobooks ever. I've only ever read these physically. And you're like, yeah, the narrator. And I was like,
nah. So the first 3 books are really fun because they have this like weird jazzy music that goes along between each chapter. And it goes, yeah, in like a really weird way. And it has like a man, you can hear like a man walking at some point. It's just a bit bizarre. At some point that changes and stops. And apparently around the same time, so does the narrator. Because I like reading along so that 1, I can get through them quicker, and 2, I then go, okay, well, I need to put like a tab there because I need to think of that or whatever. Just get through them quicker, really. Not that they need to get like over and done with, but more just because I'm a really slow reader.
No, I completely was shocked.
Did you guys see my Instagram story?
Huh?
Like yesterday, day before, where I like polled people on how fast they read?
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, they do what?
How fast do I read?
How...
It's gone now. Don't
I
look
was
for
like, so what? Like you asked people how fast they read,
and then either yesterday or the day before, I posted the results. So obviously, like, why am I doing this? It's not a study. I'm like, oh, it's a limited sample. Of course, it bloody is. But everyone, like the vast majority of people, chose 30 to 60 pages an hour as like a standard amount that they would read.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is 100. Like, I can read... I've told Becca this already. I can read Skullduggery 200 pages an hour.
To be fair, if I was reading middle grade and like younger YA, I can get through quite quick. But if I'm reading something really dense, it will slow down a lot. But also audiobooks. I listen to so many of those now. It's kind of hard to.
No, I read a page a minute, unless the font is bigger, in which case I'll speed it up. But the density, the actual content, if it's size 12, it will take me a full minute to read a full page, regardless of what's on it.
Like, it was a couple of books back, and I checked it again with the last one, just to be like, is it just because it was like an easier one, a younger one? And I sat and read for half an hour, and I saw the time, sat and read, and I was like, oh, I've read 100 pages. It'll have been an hour. And I looked, and I was like, what do you mean it's been half an hour? What is happening? How have I managed 100 pages in 30 minutes? But my standard, like, obviously it slows down.
I thought you said that was in an hour.
That's usually I'm 100 pages an hour. Skullduggery, I'm 200 pages an hour.
How do you remember anything? Like, reading at that pace, how do you remember anything? Because, like, for
my
me,
partner has the same argument. He
part,
is slow.
I'm like, I can see words at a fast speed, fine. Remembering them, remembering the order in which they fell, takes me a minute.
I don't know. It just, I've always been like when I used to like learn piano, my aim was to play as fast as possible. Or like everything's always just been quick. So like my partner reads like 20 pages an hour. Like he's like really slow. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're slow or fast, but he's really slow. And so then when I read, he's like, well, you've not paid attention to anything. And I will say that he will pick up on more of the small details. So I've mentioned before, like pros of rereading, like you'll reread through and you'll pick up on little bits you didn't notice the first time. No, he doesn't miss any little bits. Other than obviously like sprinkled clues that you don't know because plot points. Like any actual like parts of the story, he doesn't miss a single thing. But I'm fine with that. Like it's not like I'm missing any big or medium-sized plot points or anything. Like I'm missing like tiny little segments. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know. Everyone's always asked and I don't know. I assumed it was normal. Like this is why when I was younger I was like, why don't people read? Like it's so easy to read a book. It's like 3 hours. Which is another thing as well.
Bitch.
I know. Like I was literally, this is my current read. Okay? I've barely fucking started it, which is annoying. But I know this is approximately 360 pages. This will take me 3.5 hours to read. Because it's 360 pages.
If I had your reading ability, 300 books a year wouldn't feel like such a big deal.
I don't read 300 books a year.
No, but that's the target I've set myself. And if I could read a whole book in an hour, wouldn't be a problem.
An hour? What 100-page books are you reading?
Okay, to be fair, I do have novels, poetry, etc.
I don't read a lot of graphic novels.
Get on them.
Weirdly, I take more time with them because I'm not used to the format.
That's fair. That's fair. It took me a while, and there are some where, like, if it's not inherently clear to me what the narrative is, that frustrates me because it's not something I want to spend a lot of time on. I want to know that I like it and move on. So, like, I really like the graphic novel series Fence because it's really simple. It's just two boys who obviously love each other and won't admit it.
Don't try Sandman because Sandman is very, very complicated. What's the TV
I found
show?
a book.
Read the audiobook. That works better.
I found one that will make you feel better about my reading speed. I do sometimes read slowly. This is approximately 250 pages.
Yeah.
Took me 4 or 5 hours.
Okay, well, this...
But it is also a non-fiction book about the NSA leaks from Edward Snowden.
This is 202 pages. I've been reading it for 4 months.
Right, no, because I can do that too. I can do that too. That's easy.
I read like
You
a
just
page
leave it.
a week, and I'm like, oh, I'm not in the mood for this.
But like, yeah, I read this like all in one go, as in like over a few days. This was the only thing I read, and I was so slow with it. I was really enjoying it, but it was for me so slow, and I was like, how have I only gotten through 30 pages?
What were you going to say, Lizzie?
It would have been great reading Sanderson because you would have gotten through it like that while me was slogging through one book every 2 weeks. It was so long.
And yet I like short books.
Interesting. Lizzie, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, you know what you should do is read a bunch of comics that are recognised on Goodreads, because that's how I managed to get over 100 books this year, is because the Walking Dead comics were all on Kindle Unlimited. So I was like, okay!
If you need any comic recommendations, I am...
I was talking to my brother. My brother has suggested that I set up a Twitch, and I was like, but what would I do? Because I don't really do like the read with me type stuff. And he's like, no, but you could. He was like, you could do like a book in an hour. And I'm like, well, what books would I read? And I was like, oh, well, I guess I could do graphic novels. I could literally sit down and then just stream me reading a graphic novel and like update as I went or whatever. But I was like, then I'd have to spend £10 per Twitch, basically, like buying graphic novels to like read and finish per Twitch stream. And unless I've got at least 4 people paying to watch my content, it's not making me any money to do that.
I mean, you could just, like read part of a book.
Or you could,
and then the next day you stream reading the next part.
Interesting.
But you could just
then it's a series, which then leads people to wish to watch the next one, ergo leading to higher viewer content.
Or just do a just chatting, like a lot of people do on Twitch, and they don't actually do anything but just talk.
But then I'd have to have something interesting to say.
You could do your laddie stories.
Yeah,
you've got
stories.
They don't exist anymore, Becca, because I don't leave my house.
You can recap the old ones.
That's true. No, I could do that. To be fair, the book that I wrote, Fat Lip, the collection of short stories, is basically a literary version of what that blog used to be.
The History of the Ladette. Twitch title.
A Ladette, a memoir. Love that. Love that. Yeah, no, we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, let's get back to this book. Is there anything else?
I was going to say, are there any more points about the book?
I really liked the plot twist of the people in the mountains seeming to help them, but then not helping them.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about the Bigfoot bit or the Yeti?
That definitely felt like a Star Wars reference.
No, I was going to say more along the lines of the fact that it was like, we're going to have to fight a Yeti. Cut to, they fought the Yeti. It's just sort of cut out.
Yeah.
It was sort of like that. You don't need to hear this bit. You've seen fight scenes before.
You know what fight scenes are.
Yeah. To be fair, they can't really do their usual witty quips with a Yeti.
Yeah, I know, but I reckon he just went, I've got no idea how to write this. What?
No, I reckon it's what, like 600 pages? Yeah, 597 pages. I reckon
he wrote it.
A whole bunch of other scenes were in it and then got cut.
Probably.
Imagine getting the uncut version.
He should release those.
That's tempting. Anyway, so because we always do the thing, and I have the book here.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Lizzie, if you've watched any of the other ones. As you can tell by how much we natter, they're very long, so I don't blame you if you don't. But we always have done.
Like, offended now.
Really?
No, I would.
And so we basically, the synopsises are slightly different lengths. Mine's always a bit longer. Apart from
hers twice as long, yeah.
Once mine was like the same length, which was very weird, but the rest of them, mine are longer. Original copy. They're longer, I don't know why.
Calm down. Original copies.
They're not special, they're just the first ones that DeaDFamous got in stock. So, but yes, so do you want to go first or should I go first?
I'll go first. So what I love is that on this front cover you've got Valkyrie, you've got Bespoke, and then you've just got like this guy. Like, what's going on there?
Who the hell is that?
Is that Dexter Ray?
He kind of looks like Jim Jeffries to me, or that guy in Community, the Jeff, what's his face?
That's mine.
A very different cover.
Wow, yeah, that is really different.
Is that Fletcher using flames?
No.
So we've just got like random dudes. Loads
Whereas
of random
I've figured out in the course of this readathon that the only special thing about the collector's edition is that there's colour on the cover, wherein like the non-collectors it's black and white. But yes, then we have Skullduggery holding either Val or the Reflection.
Support.
But yeah, so either holding Val or the reflection, one of the two, with a burning car,
Something's on fire.
and then on the back,
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that.
Hannah,
Ooh.
Hannah. Look at it.
These days,
I
spooky.
forgot.
It's got a
what
little scooter.
Okay, so on the back of mine says 2 wars rage. One is a war between sanctuaries, a war of loyalty and betrayal, and last desperate stands. The other is a war within Valkyrie Kane's own soul. If she loses, Darkess will rise and the world will burn.
Okay, so again, because Lizzie hasn't been here, usually, essentially, your editions have got like the first paragraph with like a sentence missing and a sentence from my second paragraph. They're the same vibe, but they're not the same.
Ooh,
So
interesting.
settle in, because these are long.
Oh, okay.
Story time.
So, war has finally come. Not a war between good and evil or light and dark, but a war between sanctuaries. Skullduggery and Valkyrie must team up with the rest of the dead men if they're to have any chance of maintaining the balance of power and getting to the root of a vast conspiracy that has been years in the making. And at the same time, another war rages within Valkyrie herself, as Darkess is on the verge of rising, and if Valkyrie slips, even for a moment, Darkess will burn the world and everyone in it.
Interesting.
So and then I
it is
also
a
have like a
case of,
little quote.
Yeah. Quote.
So it's like it's the same, but it's not.
Yeah. So
Like mine has more
Valkyrie's
detail.
being bitches, Valkyrie potentially losing her. It's a baby!
Hello,
Danny-
grumpy kitty.
He's a
Danny
baby.
just brought him in here because apparently he was being annoying.
Oh. Well, I don't know if you can see in the middle of the screen, you got Mozart glaring at you, so.
I miss my kitty.
Anyway, but yeah, so wild. I like that it's like, because it's the last stand of the dead men, so chances are those are probably the dead men.
Yeah, because if you notice the
That's the point. Yeah, so that's obviously Ghastly at the bottom.
those sort of look like the drawings in the front of Maleficent 7.
You mean the back?
Yeah, in the back.
Show again? And I'll show Maleficent 7. Hannah? So let's compare. I mean, that's Ghastly, obviously. Who the hell is that meant to be him? And is that meant to be
Are those
kind
the
of
dead
fun?
men then, that side?
Huh?
That's the dead men.
Because that surely is, what's his face? Red Hand guy.
Serpent.
That's it.
Don't think that's Serpent.
I'm pretty sure it is, because I think it's from like the first one, isn't it? That's like the same hairline.
I muted. I realised that. I was like, oh, great. I love how you're basing that off hairline in a thing. That's great.
So you got him there.
Okay, but she has a point with the hairline.
She does. She does.
I'm now racking my brain for this book because I can't remember it. That's the problem.
Like they do look really, really similar. In the same way that Bespoke in both of them have exactly the same scarring.
But then, like, it's just so. I was being stupid. Becca, you didn't figure this out. You were also being stupid. Because I can't be the only one being stupid. It's just the law. That's not Ghastly.
No.
Frightening.
Yes. I was like, oh, that's Ghastly.
I wasn't going to say it just in case. I was like, wait a second. Ghastly's not in that book.
No.
Oh, we're good.
Lizzie,
Yes.
you haven't read this, have you?
No. I'm probably, well, I mean, don't worry about it. I'm not too bothered about spoilers on this because it's part of the lore. So it's fine.
It's the tiniest of spoilers. It will basically give you a hint and then it won't ruin the rest of it. But I just right. It's also to do with the cover art. So you look at this, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, what I love is that.
That's cool.
No, specifically that one there.
I've never noticed that.
Neither did I till I reread it this time. Do you know what I mean, Hannah? I don't want to say because it'll ruin it for Lizzie.
I think so.
If you look at their head specifically.
I need to get my copy so I can see it properly because I can't see it on my screen.
Also,
Anything more, like I'm not keen on giving like spoilers, and this would be like something like I just. So I'm happy enough being like, okay, there's a difference. There's something to pick out, and if you end up with a physical version, obviously, like you can then hunt for it. But I never noticed it until this read through, ever.
I'm now sitting here going, wait a minute. Did I mention anything in the Easter eggs? Because one of the characters of Maleficent 7 is an Easter egg. Because his name is Wilhelm Scream. And I've mentioned this to both of you two up top. And obviously the Wilhelm Scream is a thing from movies. And I didn't catch it the first time around. Second time around, I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
That's a
and that
thing.
he screams the entire way through.
That's amazing. I love that.
See,
Have you seen-
it's the same shape as that character there.
Have you read it, Hannah?
Yeah.
Have you
You can
had
say-
any food or drink today? Is your brain functioning?
No, obviously not. But I did tell
I
you
can't say it without spoiling it for Lizzie.
It's all right. You can say it. Just jazz hands when you're done.
You can hear me.
Wait, I can mute myself. Hold on. I'll mute my computer, and you just have to do that when I can come back.
Okay.
Okay. My feet smell like bananas. Okay. So Wilhelm Scream, the one that she mentioned,
Yeah.
with the spiky hair,
Yeah.
is a traitor.
Yeah.
So that's why he's in the front with the bad guys. In the shadow.
That's why he's the shadow.
Yeah.
That was my point.
Oh, it's the fact that
Yeah.
because he's the shadow, he's the traitor of theirs, so he's not actually on their team, so you can't see him properly. Right. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
Can we bring Lizzie back now?
Yeah, we can. Let's all jazz hands. She's not watching.
Hands.
This is the second
It's a different baby.
baby number
Let it
2.
go.
Oh, baby number 2 doesn't want to say either.
Right, so what are your predictions for the next book?
So I think the other sanctuaries are going to move up their timeline of like moving in on island, and that it will be down to the last dead men to stop them from doing that. I don't think that's going to succeed. I think the sanctuaries are fully going to take over.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you. I promise I'm not laughing at you. I was like, oh, I'll take off the dust jacket because I read it without the dust jacket on. And I looked at the thing on the other side.
Which says,
Derek Bandy is the author of the Skullduggery Pleasant series. His publisher would like to point out that these books are award-winning and best-selling. Derek cares little for these things. He lives the life of a recluse in Dublin, Ireland, and uses a male model to stand in for him at public appearances.
I love that.
So yeah, you were like, oh, this plot point happens, and I just burst out laughing. I promise it was the male model.
I love that. I love that very much.
But yes, I truthfully can't remember
No,
at the moment what happened in this book.
So what do you think will happen? Or do you not want to guess in case it is too close to the truth?
Well, no, because like I genuinely don't know, but I'm worried about like because the way that Landy writes the books, they always kind of weirdly connect. As in, like if we try to predict the next one, so like say you read the next one and then came back to this, you would probably guess the plot wrong of this with a connection. But I'm worried that I'm going to lean too heavily on the next books and on the books in season 2 on what happens in this. I mean, not leaning on any of that, just like the sanctuaries, I'm going to assume, because it's like genuinely no clue, cannot remember, but I'm going to assume that the sanctuaries don't win.
Okay.
Because it's a middle grade, so it's meant to be like, but we're strong. We can do it.
Yeah, but they've lost shit before. Do you know what I mean? And not only that, it's a middle book because it's 8 out of 7, 8, 9. It's the middle one. So if they were going to lose, it would be in that one to then regain it in book 9.
I think it's going to be a mirror of kind of what happened in the other dimension, but in just the magic side of it. So the sanctuaries are going to split into the 2 factions that are in the other world, the other Dublin, the other dimension, whatever. And it's just going to be the last stand of dead men, basically the rebellion, the rebels, essentially. And there's going to be that power dynamic. That's my guess.
Interesting.
I read the synopsis of the next one, and it's just left me more confused than I had been.
Good.
Well, I'm just
That's what
messaging
you
you
get
before I remember what happened. So I'm not helping.
Becca, tell me! Because this confused the hell out of me.
And I do think Darkcast is going to play a big part on getting back the power. That's my...
Is that in this one?
I can't
Darkness is
remember.
mentioned
That's the problem.
in my synopsis.
We've been saying that
that's
the
mentioned.
books now.
I think it's this one.
And also, wait, Becca, do you have the same covers as Hannah and Lizzie?
Yeah.
I have a question about the cover art. What you've just said, you've described an appearance, yes? The message you just sent me,
Yeah.
you specified an appearance.
What great
You said-
content it
Yeah.
is to talk about a message no one else has seen.
Yeah. Can someone hold up the cover again, please? So I get what Abby's on about. Thank
Not
you.
that
I
anyone
want to know
watching
if
this will
that
understand.
is on the cover.
I don't.
Can't tell.
I can't tell. Okay, right. Tonight I will look at my copy and then message you because I can't tell. We'll let you know when the thing happens.
Good. Okay,
Next
cool.
one.
It's a big thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's another plot twist.
Good. Love that.
I mean, it does seem like it should happen in this one.
Yeah, I think it does.
Right, okay, you guys can have this conversation afterwards because it is of no
Sorry.
benefit to anyone watching or Lizzie or I.
Sorry.
Well,
I'm just watching you guys going.
The thing is, maybe the thing? I don't know. Is it the thing? Good.
from our point of view, this makes complete sense. I don't even want to watch this back.
Oh, I love that though. I love that. I love it so much. I'm just sitting here watching this happen going.
I don't know where I am.
Our final 2 brain cells are firing. Like, is this the thing?
Okay. With that in mind, then, I am going to bring this live to a close. 1, so that I can actually pick up the next book, and 2, because I need to have my dinner. So before we go, does anyone want to give a shout out to anything before we disappear?
My dad for bringing me lemon meringue pie.
We love to see it. We love to see it. Becca?
The Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, that's been updating a lot recently. I blogged all the way through July. Can someone check it out, please? So I didn't burn myself out for nothing.
Love that. Yep, will do. And Lizzie?
No. Well, I mean, I could plug Babies and Books, I guess.
Yeah, you could.
Where we, at the last Sunday of every month, we talk about a different book based on a cocktail. And this month is Martini, and it's organized crime. I remember the prompt. So you can join us for that, but just be aware there will be talk of Den of Vipers. So if you're not into 18 plus books, maybe don't come to it.
Rip.
I
think I'm the only one out of the 4 of us that's finished it so far, and I wouldn't recommend it.
Well, I'm still reading it, and I'm going to go and read that after this live show.
Cool. And as far as I'm concerned, the next book will be available on Waypoint, and you will also be able to get the discount code if you jump on the Discord. So that will help you. save some money and join in. But other than that, as always, it has been a laugh. I've enjoyed it. We've taken many detours, but I've had fun. So I will see you all again very soon, I'm sure. That's to you guys. I'm talking to you. Like you three. You three.
Me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Like all three of you are just like, cool.
I thought you were talking to them.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Me.
Yeah. And you guys, because you're the ones that can talk back. All right. Well, this is
This is chaos.
There's a change.